Hey there, Steve from Fretboard Forge, and today we're going to deal with restringing the guitar. And as you can see here, my guitar is kind of a little sadder on the string side of things. Right before this, I actually took off 5 of the 6 strings already just so I could clean up the fretboard a little bit. And then I'll show you how to take this one off and then start putting them back on. Anyway, let's start out with the things you might want and or need. So, you can... the main thing is have some sort of string wrapper. I mean, you can turn the pegs slowly by hand, but this is going to make your life so much happier and easier. The next thing would be have some form of wire cutters just to get the end of the wire off there. If you have a pair of cutters that works on the ends too, that would work almost better for doing this. Another thing to have is, say, a tuner. That would be kind of towards the end. First, you're going to be playing around with the strings a little bit to get them back into tune, and they're going to be slipping for a while after you change them. So, the tuner will help, though, getting you back into the general ballpark. And the other thing you can choose to do, which I did right before this, is get yourself some, there's fretboard cleaners out there. Otherwise, you can get furniture polish. The main thing is just make sure you don't get something that's silicone or wax spaced of any sort, like type of wax for furniture, because that will not bode well with your open rosewood or ebony fretboards if you have those. So try to steer clear of that or anything that's an aerosol product. Just something like your basic petroleum based furniture cleaner right here. Anyway, you can see also you would want a clean dry rag to deal with that. This was a clean dry former t-shirt piece of rag until I just cleaned off my fretboard a couple minutes ago, and that was the end result of that. The other thing is to get these little pegs out of the bottom here. You might want to keep that rag around, maybe a different one that's drier so it's not full of oil and slipping off, and some form of pliers to actually grasp it and pull it out. There's also various peg removers on the market which are super slick and handy, and I actually had one but I lost it, so we're going with pliers. So as you can see here, we'll just start by taking this and we'll just put the string wrap over it. You can see that string's going down on this side of it, and you just take it, fly off the end, and take it all the way loose. You don't need to go all the way, just far enough so you can pull the string out of there. Ta-da! Alright, now we move on down to where the peg is on the bottom. Okay, so now the only thing holding your string left on your guitar is the peg down here. So what we'll do is we'll take a little piece of cloth just to protect the peg itself, get it on there, and pull it on out. As I completely failed to pull it out right there. There we go. And then there goes the string. At this point in time, I'd also want to point out that if you're doing this at home, it's probably best to have your guitar on a nice flat surface. Maybe if you had a stand for the neck and a whole workbench, that would be perfect. I did not have something like that set up here or a whole lot of room to tape this, so I'm doing it on my lap. But you can make life easier on yourself if you had a nice workbench to deal with. So I'd recommend that. Alright, now let's add some new strings. So starting out, before we put anything else, we're going to take our bottom E string here, our lowest E string, and we are going to take this back in, and right where this came out of, it's going to go back in. Push that down in there, and then have it up against the peg, and then you just push it down until it's in there nice and firm, because you're going to be pulling on this string and you don't want it to pop back out. So if you have to, and you want to take like a small rubber mallet or something else to just kind of pound it in there, do so. Otherwise, let's go back up and string it onto the neck. Alright, so you have your string here, and now the rule of thumb generally is, say you have the string in there, you'll want to have it going about an inch and a half past where the actual peg is. So for most people that's going to be about 3 fingers or so. The other way you can do it is people will slide down either about 1 or 2 frets on the guitar itself to get that amount of space in there, and then push that through the string. But either way you do it, a really handy thing to do is up 3 fingers above here, is just take the string and give it a nice little kink to the side as it goes through, and then just feed it on through. And also note that you want the hole in the tuning peg right here to be perpendicular with the guitar, so with the neck of the guitar, so it's coming in from the side like that. And then once you get that in there, just turn it back this way, and then it's going to be solid in there, so you can hold pressure against it now without having any need to hold it with this hand, which frees up your hands then. Alright, so as you turn, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want the string, firstly, notice how it's coming in, going towards the fretboard on this way, and it's not coming around this side of the peg. That's going to be true for every single string, so if you have it going backwards, yeah, take it off and turn it around. And other than that, you're just going to be turning this so it wraps away from the board. So get your crank on there, hold some pressure on. And the other thing you want to do right off the bat is make sure that this falls underneath of here. So let's this is why you want a workbench. Just keep cranking that down. Stay under there. Until it's nice and tight. And it'll come up some in the bottom peg sometimes too. Maybe put a little bit much on here. Okay, so now you got your string on there. It's nice and it's underneath here. This is still floating around in space. That's okay, we can leave it there for now. What you're going to want to do is just pull this around, and as I've heard explained to me is if there's any time that you want to break your string, it's now while you're stringing it and not while you're actually playing. So that makes perfect sense. It shouldn't break, and just give it a good grip, and that'll also, you'll hear it go flat. And you'll keep going up and down with that, and you don't need to get it into tune until you get the rest of them on, but just keep some tension on it now and keep tightening it as you go. Alright, so now you take this and you repeat it for every single string along here. So I'll do that really fast, and then we'll look at how to do it for an electric guitar, which is, surprise surprise, pretty much the same. And here we have some shiny new strings on my guitar. So there's a couple of things my forgetful self forgot to mention during the last part of this. Firstly, you may have heard it, as you put the string down below the peg in the bottom here, what you should do is pull it all the way up just to make sure it's up resting against that in the final place where it's going to sit solidly. Otherwise, as you tighten the string, you'll get extra string up here as it goes boom and slides up inside there and pulls tight then. So keep that in mind. And the other thing I forgot to mention was, yeah, you leave that there, but if it gets in your way and it bothers you, like it kind of does with me sometimes, and I stab myself with strings, which I don't appreciate, just snip it off. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about that. I left this one on here. Just get right up next to the peg and clip it off. I mean, odds of you getting it so far in that will make the string fall back out are pretty much not there. So just clip the strings off and then you're set. Alright, so that's good and fine for the acoustic guitar. All perfectly not in tune yet, but we'll deal with that at another point. Now, let's look at, without necessarily restringing it, just what you do differently for an electric guitar. So, in fact, everything's going to be almost entirely the same here, except for just the way it goes in with the bridge on the bottom. Alright, so the main difference here is you've got the bottom of the guitar, which has the strings actually just sticking there in a tailpiece. You don't need to worry about any of the pegs or anything to hold it in. And then it comes and rests across this bridge and then goes all the way along. So the only difference thing you need to worry about with here is just that the bridge stays on. If it's something that is a floating bridge and comes off without the strings, you might want to do a couple of things. Either make sure you do lay it flat and not sideways like I had if you take them all off, or you could just take off 1 or 2 strings at a time. That's useful for a couple of reasons, because if you want to just restring quickly and tune it up to about where it was as you're going down, you can just play the strings and hear them as they go. Or you can just use that, and then you won't take the tension off of the truss rod in the neck, which for a short period of time, if you're cleaning your guitar off and everything, makes no difference whatsoever. But if you're gonna leave your guitar without any strings, the bar in the neck is actually tensioned to go against the tension of the strings, so taking one of those parts of the equation out is just detrimental for your neck. So don't do that. Anyway, so this is the one style you'll see. Another common style is this, which is almost exactly the same, except for you have holes in the bottom here that the strings will then go through. And then they just come up and through the holes here across this little bridge section and then down to the nut again. And then the other way you might see is if you had a guitar that has a tailpiece. So same exact concept, except for once the strings are all out of here. Again, another reason why life might be easy if you did 2 strings at a time, especially if this whole bridge just floats around, so if your guitar is in flat, it's just going to fall off if you have no strings on there. This is, it's just hinged on right here, so if all the strings disappear, gone. So those would be the main different styles you'd probably see. And other than that, happy string changing, everything would be the same. Back up on me, full shot. Alright, so that's the basic ins and outs of what you'd be doing to change a string. And anything else, what type of string gauges you'd want to use or styles, I'll put a little more on what you may or may not want to go for on my webpage, fretboardforge.com, along with this lesson if you wanted to learn any more about that. Thanks for watching.